Well, thank you so much, Madison Rifkin, for sitting with me today and being on my podcast. Maybe we can start with you telling the audience who you are, your role, and a little bit about rentmount.com.
Totally. Thanks for having me on. So hi, everyone. My name is Maddie Rifkin. I'm the CEO and founder of Mount. We are a travel app. So I like to say we're a Gen Z travel company building for Gen Z travelers. And what we do is we find the world's best hidden gems sourced from you guys, the travelers and the locals, bring them into our app. And then when you're traveling, you can go off the beaten path, really not go to tourist traps, and understand who's recommending this and why it's a hidden gem. And so that's what we're all about. I have been doing this quite a long time. I started the company when I was 12 years old.
It's amazing.
Happy to dive into that more. And yeah, now I'm just living in New York on a cool journey.
Cool. And so what you started RentMount when you were 12 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about what the company looked like when you first started it as a 12-year-old?
Yeah. Really different because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of this like spunky kid who was not taking no for answers. And my parents were probably like, who are you?
It's amazing.
I also should preface I'm a triplet. So there were three of us, all girls. And my school had this invention program. I lived in Colorado and grew up in Denver, and they were like, just invent whatever you want, see what happens. And I had the idea to invent a bike lock that was built into the bike because to me, I was like, this makes no sense. Like I had to ride my bike to school sometimes and do all that stuff, and I would forget it everywhere. It drove my mom nuts. And I was like, fine, Mom, I'll just build it into the bike. Like I'll solve this problem. And so I did that. I won the competition. I got a patent for it.
Cool.
And that kind of kicked off my entrepreneurial journey.
Amazing. So in your family, like what gave you the chutzpah to do that? Because when I was 12, I was like not starting businesses. Like,
yeah, I'm definitely not your average 12-year-old. I mean, before Mount, probably when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11, I was just doing crazy side hustles because I just liked the act of making money. So lemonade stands, I made candy and sold that. I made stickers and sold that. Really bring it all home. But I think it was in 3rd grade for my Halloween costume, I was a peddler. So I wore like a long trench coat and had things in it. And I was like
watches?
Yeah, like things, the 3rd graders wanted, and I would sell them. So.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship was in my family. Like I just grew up in an environment where they're like, take risks, learn on your feet, on your hands, whatever you can do.
Cool.
And my grandpas, both of them were entrepreneurs actually. So
okay.
In the blood.
That's amazing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that period of time. How old are you right now, actually? Maybe?
26.
Which is also wild, like to me. I would love to hear a little bit more about as you went through school. I want to hear about the 12 years old to 26, basically.
The whole
Mount.
journey.
Yeah.
So started as a bike lock company as a 12-year-old. And that was a really cool product. So like in this competition, you had to work with teachers because they didn't let you use power tools as like a 12-year-old. But I ended up building a retracting bike lock. So it retracted 6 feet. And so you could pull it out from the frame of the bike and it would go around the entire bike and lock itself. Pretty cool. Ended up learning not so theft proof. Like people cut through that pretty easily. But, it's okay. So didn't do much once I got the patent because I was still learning and starting other businesses and was like, okay, the lock is cool. The patent process also took 3 years. So I was working back and forth with a lawyer, which was also bizarre as a 12-year-old. So I learned a lot from that process. And then when I went to high school, I was kind of just ideating on Mount. I took a few classes in high school that were like electives for entrepreneurship, which was cool. But my main focus in high school is actually I was a drummer in a band.
Cool. Okay.
And so we did like a world tour. We went to Switzerland and Italy.
That's crazy. It's so cool.
Yeah, very bizarre. But I think that taught me a lot of leadership skills.
Yeah.
Just because we were playing in crowds of like 2,000-3,000 people. And so if you're the drummer and you mess up,
wait, what's the name of your band?
It wasn't like the fanciest name. It was called the Quincy Avenue Rhythm Band. So we played like R&B covers.
Cool.
Yeah. So like Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, it was cool. So I did that. And then I ended up at Northeastern in Boston. So big change state-wise. And then I studied entrepreneurship.
Okay.
To no one's surprise. And then when I got there, it was all about Mount. So started the bike lock company. I took some engineering classes also as like a minor so I could build it.
Yeah.
And then got some mentors from Northeastern and basically spent the next 5 years, because it's a 5-year program, building Mount locks. And it went from bike locks. And then I think it was my sophomore year, so like 2017, the scooter companies started popping up. But back then it was just Bird in Santa Monica. And my friend was at USC and he's like, I think you need to come check these scooters out. Like, I don't know what this is, but it's going to be cool. So I hopped on a flight and I met him at USC and we went around putting the locks on some scooters just to like test it out. And then as it turned out, the locks worked really well on scooters and they needed locks because the scooters didn't have anything at that time. It was just kind of free for all. And I was like, yeah, they're going to cause a lot of chaos. I can see that coming. So I started pitching the scooter companies when they were baby companies about locks. And
what year was this?
That was 2017, 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I pitched city governments on the locks and tried to get them to introduce laws for it, which they actually ended up doing. And then that wave rode so fast.
This is so amazing, first of all, that you saw the need there. But I'm curious about how you got access to people like from the scooter companies and government.
Yeah.
Was that like connections from your Northeastern program or?
No. So this is like the one thing I learned while in college and then also like still I use it now is, well, relatively. When you're in college and you tell someone you're a student, all caution goes out of the wind, or sorry, that's not even the right saying, but whatever that saying is. You just message people on LinkedIn and you're like, hey, I'm a college student, and they will help you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So no one says no to a college student. If I told them I was the CEO and founder of Mount and I didn't tell them I was a college student, they would not respond. But college student asking for advice worked wonders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this idea caught on. What were your first couple wins when you're reaching out about your locks?
First wins, I would say... Honestly, they all blur together at this point, which is like a symptom of entrepreneurship. But probably some of the first ones were I got invited to Razor's headquarters.
Wow,
So the Razor scooter, I'd connected with like the VP of something. I don't even remember.
Where is the headquarters?
It's near Santa Monica. That's another reason they were all out there.
Okay.
And, you know, Razor does like all of the little non-electric scooters. And they were like, well, if people are using basically our scooter electric version for this, we should be able to do it too. So they bought an app, made it into this like scooter company. And so I brought the lock with me. And then I remember it didn't even work when I brought it. Of course it broke. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. But they really liked it. Conversations continued, which was awesome. And, you know, did the same thing with a couple other businesses also. Had connected with some pretty high up people. They called it micromobility. That was what that industry was called for a while.
Like scooter industry is interesting.
They called it micromobility. It was like last mile transportation. Kind of died off actually as an industry now, but connected with a ton of people off LinkedIn on that, got a ton of mentors in the space. And then I think, honestly, one of the biggest wins was one of my mentors. His name was Shinari. He ended up like working at Mount for a little. Went to the micromobility conference because I couldn't go. I was still in school. And everyone saw his name tag and it said Shinari like Mount or something like that. And he was like, everyone kept coming up to me being like, where's Maddie? Do you work for Maddie? And he was like, I didn't know you networked this hard. Like, what's going on? So that was kind of fun too.
Yeah, networking is so key. There's so much there. Where do you think that drive or that ability to network comes from? You had no fear reaching out to all these people, saying that you were a student that helped you, but also there's something in your personality, I'm sure.
It's a good question. So this is like very interesting and something I actually study. It's how we hire people now. I had a really life-defining moment when I was 16. I just got my driver's license, just learned how to drive. And like 2 months after that, it was December, I was in my high school parking lot and I got hit by a car.
Oh.
So crazy. Like I was a pedestrian. It was someone in my grade, actually. So it was a very like crazy freak accident.
Yeah.
Imagine
I'm sorry to hear.
Oh,
that sounds horrible.
We're past it to the humor point now, but imagine like the Twilight scene where she's about to get hit by a car. Yeah, that's what happened to me. I just didn't have a vampire like saving me. But ask anyone, before that accident, I was the shyest person you'll ever meet. Like I would go sit in the corner, was really afraid to talk to people. And then that happened. And I was like, okay, why the hell was I being so shy and like not advocating for myself and just asking for what I deserved? And I was like, well, the worst just happened to me. I'm at rock bottom, basically. So clearly that didn't work. Let's try something else. And so I think that quite helped, actually.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. That's so interesting. I kind of want to talk about, especially with people who come on the show who are founders, CEOs of their businesses, how do you approach building a team around you? Because at a certain point, I'm sure early on, you have to try to do as much as you can by yourself. You don't have a ton of cash flow and capital in the beginning. But at a certain point, you have to bring people on to help you. And especially being a young person navigating these spaces, you know, there's mentors that came into your life. I'd love to hear about the role of how you approach building a team. And also want to talk about like mentorship, but maybe we can go to that next.
Yeah, totally. It's really interesting because Mount has gone through so many phases. So in college, the people I tried to get to work for me, quote unquote, were like my friends and other college students. Didn't take us very far because one, when you do that, the students, your friends don't look at it as like a full-time job basically, which is like how you look at it. So that was very frustrating, but we all did it for free. And at some point you just kind of need some help.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how college went. When I got a little more deep into the industry back in the micromobility days, that's how I met Shinari. And he actually, I don't know how he was able to do this. I actually never asked, but he was able to come work for Mount full time for like 6 months. He was kind of doing other side gigs and just wanted to take a bet on a startup. And I was like, yeah, please. So I convinced him to come do that. Don't ask me how. He's like a wonder. He's now like the head of operations at a different startup and doing really well. But that's kind of how we got by for a little. And then I'd say the turning point was we did get a little funding post-graduation.
Okay.
I'd gotten into a startup accelerator, and after that was able to raise our first round, and it was 1.2 million.
Wow.
Which was a lot, yeah.
Okay, so the startup accelerator. Can you, for people, a lot of young people are going to be watching this, I hope.
Yeah.
They're going to have questions, and I get these kind of questions a lot from younger folks with like cool ideas to start businesses, like funding, startup accelerators. How did you learn what was out there? How did you learn? Yeah,
totally.
Let's start there.
Oh my gosh, I could talk funding all day because the amount of stuff I learned and would do differently is so much. But one thing you should not take for granted is being a student. And that's something I learned while being a student is like you don't get to repeat being one. And when you are one, every college, no matter where you're going, has a program for entrepreneurship to give you essentially free money. They don't phrase it that way, but that is what it is. And so I use that to my advantage at Northeastern specifically. Like they are very set up for entrepreneurship. Like they breed CEOs.
Okay. I didn't know that.
One of the reasons I went there actually. And so I think I got over like $70,000 in free money from them. Not all at once you had to win competitions and stuff like that. But that's how I did that. I won BU's pitch competition because in Boston, there's schools everywhere. And so I just convinced a student there to like work with me so I could apply to their pitch competition and won. And then I applied to Columbia's and I want to say Cal Poly's. I don't even know, but like literally you just have to be a student. You don't even have to go there. It's crazy. And there's so much free money out there when you're a student. So that's the first place I started. And then I was really naive about VC funding because you hear about that, right?
Yeah.
And the way people talk about it, they're like, oh, especially on LinkedIn, they're like, oh my gosh, I just raised $5 million. It took me a week to do it. And I raised from Jeff Bezos and like all these people. And I'm like
it's raining money.
Yeah. I'm like, well, how is this happening? That must be really easy to do. And that's the approach I took. I was like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And so as a college student, I just cold emailed like VCs I found on the internet, basically. Heard back from no one. Like that actually is not how you raise money. Learned that lesson the hard way.
Good to know that, too.
Yeah. And it's not as simple as asking someone for money. Like you have to build the relationships. And one of my mentors in college did clue me in a little. And they're like, Maddie, we want to see a track record. And so start building your email list, send out monthly updates.
Have like metrics you report on.
Yeah, or just like, it's in the early days, it's more just like, what are you doing and showing progress and like an upward trend. And so I did that for 2 years and I kept meeting people, again, leveraging me being a student. Yeah. And I wasn't asking for money, I was asking for advice. And I was like, hey, do you want to join my email list? And then after 2 years, I had this huge track record of everything we've done. And then when I did finally go out for that raise, I had relationships built. I had that network and I was able to leverage it. And that's kind of how we were able to raise some money.
Okay. So did you raise money past your time being a student?
Yeah, it was like right after I graduated.
Okay.
Because it was kind of scary, right? I graduated and I was like, oh, I didn't go get a full-time job like everyone else. Yeah. I need a way to have a salary and like be a full-time adult now, which is also quite new. And so, yeah, for me, the only option was going out and getting money so I could hire a team and also pay myself a salary.
So during this time, so you were in Colorado, then you went to Northeastern, which is Boston. And then at what point did the move to New York happen?
Oh, see, I mean, so this is weird though. I graduated during COVID.
Okay.
So
what a weird time.
What a weird time. I think the time like it's really fuzzy because I think that just happened during COVID. But essentially what happened is my last year of school was during the peak of COVID. So Northeastern had shut down. I had an off-campus apartment, so I was living there. But like I used it to my advantage, right? Because I was still a full-time student, but also being a full-time CEO basically. And so Thank God my classes were online because I probably would have not passed because I was like, I mean, sorry, Northeastern, I wasn't really going.
Well, you're building a business.
I was building a business.
Yeah.
And it worked out in the long run. So you guys can claim me later down the line. But I was basically, we had launched Mount in a few cities. And so I was traveling. I was like the only one on the plane. It was crazy because no one was flying during COVID.
Yeah.
And so I was launching, being crazy. And then I totally forgot the question you asked too. I'm on a weird tangent now, but...
No. Oh, it was how you got to New York.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was going to take you down a weird path.
That's cool too.
So the Startup Accelerator was in Hawaii.
Okay.
So luckily I actually was able to go to Hawaii right in between their shutdown open and shutdown again because of COVID. So I was in Hawaii.
Also a
no
great
one was
place
there.
to be.
Oh, yeah. No, my thought process was, let me apply to this accelerator because if all else fails, I will go to Hawaii for 3 months. And as a student / recent grad, I was like, yeah, okay. But it worked out. After Hawaii, I was kind of going back and forth to New York a little anyways to meet investors because it's a big, VC hub.
Yeah.
Some might argue a little bigger than Silicon Valley now, but that's a hot take. And
Love a hot take.
Yeah. Some of my investors that we ended up closing right after the accelerator ended up being in New York. So I was like, I'm never living in San Francisco. I already knew that. That was going to be a hard no for me. So I was like, well, might as well be close to my investors. New York's pretty cool. You can tell I talk fast and am like, the grind.
You fit right in.
So I needed a fast-paced environment, and I love Colorado, but I would have been so distracted skiing, golfing, like doing all the Colorado stuff. So New York it was.
Yeah, cool. So taking a step back to mentorship.
Yeah.
You went to a great, business program. I'm sure that you had access to really helpful mentors there. But I think once you left school, how do you approach like getting mentors? Yeah.
It's such a good question because, in school, my one mentor who became an investor in Mount, actually, Mark Bernfeld, was probably the most impressive mentor I've ever had. Like, he just knew what he was doing. He mentors founders for a living, basically, and was just professoring on the side because he liked meeting students. So he's awesome. I still talk to him. He's great. That was just because of Northeastern, though.
Okay.
I'd say the other way I found mentors was, it really depends. Mount's been in so many industries. Like we were in scooters and now we're in travel and we were in short-term rental Airbnbs for a while. I just kind of picked up mentors from each industry. And again, I was just messaging these people on LinkedIn being like, hey, I'm a super young founder. Couldn't say student anymore. Like, are you willing to chat? And then just got them so bought into what I was doing, what Mount was supposed to be becoming. And they were like, yeah, I want to help.
And you have a very compelling story. I mean, starting at 12 years old and then just being so laser focused on your company, just consistently for so many years. I think that is very compelling, but also being brave and just reaching out to people, I think.
I mean, that's like the one piece of advice I give people now is like, the worst they're going to say is no.
Right.
And what does that do to you? Really nothing. So you might as well ask.
Yeah. Totally. So I want to talk a little bit about what's your mission with Mount. Talk a little bit about what gets you passionate about your company, what you're trying to accomplish on a broader scale. Yeah.
So what gets me really excited is, and this is going to be a little more travel specific, at least for right now, but really I think what we've seen in the past is there's a company for every generation. I'd argue Airbnb is a pretty millennial stage company. Gen Z is so new that there's not really a brand / company for them. It's not their identity yet. And I think Mount can be that. We kind of took the learnings from what was happening in the travel space pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and then have been listening to the Gen Z generation, which is my generation. Like, we grew up in the middle of the pandemic and graduated when the pandemic happened. Like, we were not used to going into an office. We live and breathe remote work.
Yeah.
And we kind of demand it at this point, even though some people are calling us back to the office. Like, if you want great talent, that's not going to happen. And so being that brand that is that voice of that Gen Z traveler, being like, yeah, you can live, work, and travel all at the same time, but also do it in an authentic way where you're not traveling because you saw that Instagram photo and you're with the masses now, but really you're traveling to understand different cultures, different cuisines, and really getting a world view. That's where I think Mount can really make a difference because it's my opinion, if we all understood each other a little better, all different walks of life, all different around the world, we'd probably get along a lot better and be a happier place. So if Mount can be the company that starts that with Gen Z and it trickles down as more generations come up, then I think we have a massive impact on the world.
Totally.
Yeah. do
So do you love to travel?
Oh, yeah. I grew up traveling.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was probably in 30 countries by the time I was
Wow.
15. Yeah.
What did your parents do? Why? How come?
Oh, it wasn't them, it was my grandparents. So
Oh,
they
okay.
took us, my whole entire family that side, there were 16 of us. And so
Okay.
every summer
Wow.
we would go and travel.
Cool.
My grandparents, they're big, big travelers. Like his company just had him traveling a lot. So I think it was just kind of bred into me that we're not staying home. We're just going to go and explore and do it
Cool.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I grew up overseas as well, and I feel like it definitely impacted my worldview in a positive way.
Yeah.
Travel is so important, I think, for all of us. It's a privilege for sure, but if where you can, even just like leaving your town, I think it's so valuable just to get different perspectives and meet people with different values, and you have greater empathy when you can meet different types of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Massive privilege. But what I've learned too, like in doing Mount, the amount of people I've met who are budget travelers, backpack travelers, or also just like living in a van and driving the US and not paying rent. There's so many different ways
Working
to do
at
it.
hostels.
Working at hostels,
Yeah.
working for World Packers, which is another great
Oh,
option.
okay.
Yeah, they have.
What's World Packers?
Kind of like hostels, but it's more of an organization,
Okay.
and they'll place you places where you can work, but then you get to stay there for free.
Oh,
that type
cool.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Young people look. I should have looked into that. Or I
It's
wish
very
I was,
cool. I mean, I don't claim
when I
to
was
have
younger.
known exactly what they are, but one of our people who kind of travels and talks about Mount uses them, and it seems pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have an interesting connection, Maddie and I. We were introduced by a client of mine, Ashley Ching, who's the CEO of InHaven. She's been on the podcast and a great supporter. And you guys know each other through the property rentals industry. Like, can you talk a little bit about how you and Ashley met, maybe like how you know each other, and then a little bit about community?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we call it the short-term rental industry. So to outside people, that's pretty much Airbnb, but that really is not the name of it. It's short-term rentals, vacation rentals, like that whole industry. We met there. I got into that industry about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was one of Mount's paths to building our business. So we figured, yes, we're a great brand, but getting the word out to the traveling masses is going to be quite hard. So we went through short-term rental Airbnb hosts. So the host would work with us and tell their guests about Mount to find hidden gems. And that was one of the
Smart.
ways we grew.
Yeah.
So in doing that, I met Ashley because she's also a founder in that space. Her company's really cool.
We built the website.
Yeah.
Or
Oh.
my agency.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the website. Actually, yeah, I'm like a beta tester. It basically gives you discounts on stuff you want to furnish and everything for your short-term rental. So pretty cool. That's how we met. And then what Ashley's been doing in our industry, because there's not a lot of female founders, is she's been bringing the hospitality female founders together. I think we meet like once a month now and just like share different topics and things we've learned and try to push that forward because, I mean, that is the one thing I've learned just hopping industries and also just building a company is there are not a lot of female founders out there, let alone young ones.
Right.
And so it's nice when you can kind of help each other and push that forward.
I am so interested in hearing from you about how you feel as a female CEO, entrepreneur. Like, I have my opinions. I'm 31 years old. I am very millennial. I have my own experiences that I've lived through, but you are younger. You're part of Gen Z, and I am so curious. What's your perspective on that?
Definitely, I've learned a lot by jumping into it. When I first was doing Mount and at like one of my first ever events representing the company, I had brought one of my friends who was helping, and this is while I was in school at Northeastern, and we had a table. And, you know, he was a guy, I was a girl, and I had my business cards out, but they were pretty small. I mean, they weren't great, so you couldn't really read them. And this couple came up and was talking to us, and I was answering a lot of the questions. Justin was also there helping. And they were like, oh, this is really cool. And they grabbed one of the cards and then walked away. And when they walked away, I heard them say, oh my God, she's the founder CEO. We thought it was him. And they thought I was like the assistant. So that was my first like kind of like opening my eyes to being like, oh, okay, I probably will be treated a little differently just because people don't necessarily assume I'm the founder CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for better or for worse, I have very large brown eyes. So people just think I'm a little like not there all the time. But I use that to my advantage. I think I've just learned, especially when fundraising, you really just have to be bold. You have to be confident, and you have to walk in there like you know your shit. And I've never really leaned into that notion of, you know, they're not going to take you as seriously because you're a woman, all that stuff. Like I've just kind of been myself and been confident, and it seemed to work.
So do you feel like you entered into a sphere that was welcoming you with open arms? Like, I mean, you had that experience with a couple. They had this preconceived notion of what a founder looks like. But in other areas of your journey, did you run into any like friction, or overall has it been pretty positive?
Pretty positive. I'll say the two differences. One, when I was in the micromobility industry, which was much more tech, SaaS, and it was brand new. So very cutting edge, didn't have any old school sentiments to it. That was very bro and
Really?
tech dominated. And I
Okay.
felt that, yeah. I mean, no one was like rude and they were
Broiness
welcoming.
is still very alive.
But yeah, very, I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like, oh, let's wear vests and kind of be finance bros. That's the vibe I got, but not in like a negative way where I was like turned away from conversations and stuff. That didn't happen.
Okay.
But you felt it and you just kind of had to act a little differently. Short-term rental industry, very different because it's so old, because vacation rentals have been around for like 70, 80 years or maybe longer, that it's kind of got like the old grandma vibe. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Where it's just
interesting.
like, but it's so welcoming because they've been around for so long.
Huh.
It doesn't have that like San Francisco tech feel to it at all.
Okay.
It's more just like, you're new and you're young and we want to help you and see you succeed.
Oh, cool.
So everyone welcomed me with opening arms. They were like, whatever you need.
That is totally not what I would expect.
No.
I would expect like an industry that has been around for so long to have some maybe old-fashioned notions of what a founder business. I don't know.
So
But-
they do have some of that. Like the conferences, I would say, are a bit old. Like they have the same speakers, that type of stuff. But there are a lot of people coming into the industry trying to like push the boundaries forward and calling it out, actually, which is really cool to see. So people will be like, why are all of your speakers men? And really being vocal about it. So we've seen a lot of good change recently, which is good, like 50% equal, not just having the women moderate panels. I think they're really open to it, which is nice. And then the other thing that's just really helpful is all of the founders in the space seem to welcome you when you're brand new. And then because they've done it to me, now there's been new founders coming in. So I've been helping them get introduced, and
Cool.
it's just been really cool. Yeah.
And I just love this spirit of helping each other out. Like Ashley, I mentioned she's a great supporter of this podcast. We hadn't met before today. We just met, a couple minutes ago, and you were just so ready. You're like, this is so cool what you're doing. Tell me how to book. It was just, I really appreciate that.
Oh,
so
thank you.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
So I actually want to also ask you about, you are yourself Gen Z. You're a member of your target demographic or cohort. But how do you, I guess, collect intel on your market? How do you know what Gen Z wants?
So good question. It's so funny because I talk about this all the time on LinkedIn to our industry because not a lot of them are in that specific space we are, but I do everything on TikTok.
Okay.
So I build in public. I have my own account.
Okay.
Mount has their account.
So you have your personal account and you have a Mount account. Okay.
So Casey is our social media guru. She runs the Mount one, and actually she's helped me a lot with my account because she does it for herself. She's an influencer. So she just deeply understands content creation way better than I ever could. But yeah, I just started building in public. I talk about Mount, what we're doing. And TikTok, for some reason, their algorithm is just so good at finding who you need to find. And so I found all the Gen Z travelers, not all of them, but like a good majority. And they give posts like product updates and what we're releasing in the future. And they just continually keep giving me feedback. And then I was from that started a Mount Steward program. So it's these people who are travel influencers or content creators already doing what they do, which is just travel and post about it. But they happen to be doing it the Mount way. They just simply didn't know that. So like sustainable, ethical, responsible, that type of stuff. And I reached out and was like, hey, do you want to be a Mount Steward? And created this community where we all travel together sometimes and
Oh, that's so cool.
go on hidden gems and just like support each other. Because being an entrepreneur, being a content creator, like that is a form of entrepreneurship. Like it's quite lonely. You don't have a big team. You don't have the normal 9 to 5. So having a community where you can all kind of commiserate and talk together and all that stuff is nice.
Yeah, and then you have also like this wealth of content from the community, from all these influencers that are out there going to cool places, taking pictures and destination spots. Like this is all stuff you can repost, content that you can like use on other channels. So is TikTok your number one channel?
TikTok is the number one channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, engagement, driving sales, like
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we brand build. It's our top of funnel, but at zero cost. We did it all organically.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Casey's on your team and she's your social media guru. When did she join the team? Like, did you start posting yourself first and then?
I did, but yeah, if you look at those videos, they're so bad. It's basically me holding like a Dunkin' coffee in this WeWork office that I'm in by myself because our team was like non-existent. I'm like, guys, it's day one.
Oh, that's cool.
But I knew Casey from school. She went, well, it's a very bizarre story. She was freshman year roommates with my sister. My sister went to BU.
Okay.
And so I met Casey. I was like, wow, you're really cool. Like, you make content. And so when I got to the city, she was living in Long Island. And I was like, hey, can you just help me make some content? So it started on like a contract basis, and she just helped me, and it worked out really well. And so I was like, would you want to come on full time? And she said yes. And she was traveling a lot anyway, so the content was just really on par with what we were doing. And then in the last year, she's grown our social media pages to over 170,000 followers.
Wow, cool.
So I was like, yeah, whatever you're doing is working.
Like,
yeah, in a year.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So what channels are you guys on? Like, what social media channels are you on?
So TikTok and now Instagram are
Okay.
our two biggest.
But you started with TikTok
Started with TikTok,
and
yeah.
then expanded to Instagram. That's so interesting.
Well, it's really because of the algorithm thing. Like, TikTok and Instagram keep flip-flopping. So content's doing better on Instagram than it is on TikTok right now.
Right now?
Right now, yeah. Because
Okay.
TikTok is leaning into the TikTok shop. They want to become Amazon. They're like trying to sell a ton of stuff. So creators are having a really hard time on TikTok because the algorithm isn't showing their content because they're not selling something.
Uh-huh.
But Instagram is like, no, I'm going to do what TikTok did a year ago, which is just feed people great content.
Yeah.
And so accounts are growing faster on Instagram right now.
But it's something that, because the algorithms,
they
of
change,
course,
like,
they
every
evolve
day.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like with SEO and
So
search
hard to
engines,
know.
it's like, that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
Is like, how do you tweak your algorithm a little bit in order to feed people, drive more engagement? That's so interesting that it kind of switches back and forth.
So yeah, and you never know. And you also never know, like, is TikTok getting shut down? Is it not getting shut down? So just being on multiple platforms is good.
Hedge your bets a little bit with risk.
Exactly.
And, yeah. Are you on YouTube as well? And
Kind of. Casey does a little, I don't do YouTube, but Casey does a little YouTube. We have the content, so we just post it there, but we're not putting a lot of effort into it.
okay.
And then I'm on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn.
Me too. That's actually the only social media account I have right now, like, is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But with the release of this podcast, like, I'm going to be getting on everything,
Good.
Instagram and TikTok and all that. But it's also like, oh my God.
It's a little scary at first, and
Yeah.
then you just get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it, and it's also makes such an impact to your business. Like,
Oh my
that
gosh, yeah.
alone, encouraging me to step out of the box a little bit, out of my comfort zone, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just followed I have this female founder friend, Haley, who is so good at it that when she started, we kind of started at the same time, but she really took it seriously, and I was posting like every week. And she's basically close to 1 million followers now for her
Wow.
own account.
How long did it take her to get that? To achieve
Year and a
that?
half.
A year and a half? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
And she has such a community behind her that I think they spend like $0 on advertising now and put it like no money, but put all organic work into TikTok and
Wow.
Instagram. And they're able to do
And what's
just
her
as much.
business, or what's?
Oh, it's cool. She does convertible heels, so you can actually take the heel off your shoe.
That's genius.
Yeah, and I have them.
Okay.
They're quite comfortable.
That's especially in New York City.
Oh
like,
my God, yeah. I
I've
like
been
walk in my
wearing-
flats and then put the heel back on.
I've made mistakes the first couple of days. Like, I've been here this week shooting content, and like I was here for a conference, but I was like trying to wear heels.
Oh, no.
And no.
No.
Like, I have blisters all the
no.
back, so I need to buy her product.
Yeah. She's crazy though. I mean, she sells out like every drop right now.
Wow. Okay.
But they're so cool. And she's such a cool founder.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to give you an opportunity. You've been actually giving a lot of great advice and insights throughout this conversation, but I always like to have a little portion of our conversation dedicated to speaking to younger people, or not even younger people, people who are maybe rethinking their careers, wanting to make a pivot. So just like people starting from square one who are women and femme identifying, what advice or what would you want to share with those people specifically?
Oh, I like that. I mean, everyone's going to tell you to like just start, which is a great piece of advice, but also meaningless if you simply don't know where to start. I would start with like gaining confidence in yourself, because once you have that, you're going to be unstoppable in whatever you do. So whether that be practicing, I don't know, speaking in public or doing something that scares you every day to gain that confidence, like that's simply where I would start, because once I started gaining confidence in myself, it made building Mount and talking about it and just talking in public a lot easier too. Like I actually used to be really afraid of public speaking, and even in college too, but what they had me do every week when I was in school, my freshman year, was do a presentation in front of our entire class. And I went from having to have note cards with full sentences on them, and I told my classmates who I was doing the presentation with, like, give me 4 sentences because that's all I can handle. And I was like terrified to be up there. I just simply couldn't do it.
Relatable.
Yeah. To having that like immersive therapy or whatever you want to call that every week, so that by the end of the year, I was like craving to get up there. I didn't need my note cards anymore. And I just had the confidence to do it because I just kept pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So I would say that's probably the best place to start, is just start pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. See what happens.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a cool conversation.
Oh, good.
You've had your own podcast. I want to make sure that we shine a spotlight on the content you've put out there because I think it's so cool. Can you talk about the name of the podcast? Yeah.
We're on hiatus right now. But it was called Dorm Room to Boardroom. So I was interviewing other college founders who started their businesses in college or younger. And I found some really cool ones. Like actually a fair amount of them had been on Shark Tank.
Wow.
Got investment from them. Yeah, it was super cool what was happening. I was like, wow, who are all these young people?
So take her advice. Also watch her podcast for more advice and insights. Like that is such a cool, also great name for a podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Maddie. Thanks for being on
absolutely.
my podcast.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right. Thanks guys for tuning in.